Welcome back to the show, everyone. I'm your host, Tina Clark. I am a shamanic Reiki master and the creator of this podcast. And I'd like to encourage you, if you are listening, to please like, share, subscribe on YouTube, Spotify, and all the other platforms if you're enjoying this podcast. Today's guest is Zander Phelps. He is Z Play Coach. He was able to overcome hernia without any surgery. So he has an amazing story to share for us. And I'd like to welcome Zander to the show.
Well, thank you for having me, Tina. It's good to be here. Yes.
So Zander, tell the listeners a little bit more about yourself and your background, and then you can share about your story.
Okay. Well, I grew up in California, and then after high school, military for a little bit, and then when I got out of the military, I actually landed a great job, actually revolutionizing television back in 1995. And at that point, I kind of got really discouraged from the whole rat race of what it was to be in that type of situation. I worked about 100 hours a week trying to do all these different things for the company, and then I quit, and I ended up just selling everything and got myself down to a backpack, and I traveled for 10 years. After that, at the 10-year stint, I got married, had a child, and I was living in Kauai at the time, and then that was like a kind of really quick fast forward to the point when I had the hernia. So I was traveling with my son back to California, staying with family for a little bit, and then flying back. It was on New Year's, and I started feeling a pain in my side, and it was really, I mean, the best way you can describe it, guys would recognize it as kind of like blue balls. I felt really like I couldn't get comfortable in my. It was just hurting. So I didn't think much about it at the time. I tried to fix it, or just move to my seat, try and get comfortable. Never got comfortable. But when we got home, my son wanted to jump on a trampoline and play on the trampoline we had in our backyard. So I went trampoline with him for a few moments, did a couple of jumps, and I did a big jump, and then just a lot of pain. And then I lifted up my shirt, and then sure enough, I had a bulge on my left side, a hernia, inguinal hernia. So that's when I first noticed the hernia. But that's the basic background story. I can go deeper and deeper into those background stories, but I just wanted to briefly give a run up of what happened and where I got to that point, and then how the hernia actually happened.
And I think everybody has heard of a hernia, but could you define what that is so we're clear on what actually happened?
Perfect. Okay. There are several different types of hernias. Inguinal is the most popular one. They have umbilical, they have, navel hernias. They have different areas that it just refers to the different spot of the body that actually protrudes from. And it's just a weakness in the body where the body bulges out. So, an inguinal hernia is primarily around the groin area on either side, on one of the two sides. So, it's usually a weakness in the muscle layer, but babies, like I said, babies can be born with them, so that's not anything to do with that. And but as you get older, they can pop out easier, especially if you're lifting up heavy objects, or certain things you don't want to do to help prevent a hernia, and certain ways you can exercise that helps prevent hernias. But it's an overall, you can do everything right, and still a hernia could come out if it's supposed to, type of thing. So you never know.
That's great. So
Yeah,
you
right?
can get a hernia whenever. So nothing that you did around that time
Aggravated,
kind
or
of aggravated
yeah,
it. I mean, you
yeah.
were living in Hawaii, so how stressed could
I
you
wasn't
be?
stressed out. I was living a good life. And I was in shape. I mean, I was very competitive with ultimate frisbee at the time. So I was on our Kauai team, had an ultimate disc team, and I was part of that. So I was in very good shape. Um, I wasn't lifting anything heavy. I wasn't doing anything that are the things that, like, I even have like a whole list of things that you want to do to avoid hernias. And I'm like, I wasn't doing any of those things.
Mm.
So, it's literally like, it doesn't really matter. It's if it's going to pop out, it's going to pop out. But there are ways to help protect yourself, and different things you do. Smoking for some reason causes, there's a lot more hernia people who are associated with smoking for some reason. But breath is a key thing. It's one of the things you really got to learn how to not hold your breath and breathe correctly, especially if you're working out. That's a key thing. But just keep things, keeping your body healthy is the main thing, of course. But even if you do all that, it's the luck of the dice, I guess.
And is it something that males tend to get more than females?
It's not statistically more or less type of thing. There's like
Oh,
there's a
interesting.
little bit higher percentage, I believe, for males, but it's not huge. It's not like a outrageous difference.
Because I
So
don't think I've ever heard of a female have a hernia.
yeah, they do get them. They do get them. But it's yeah, it's
So obviously you go to the doctor, right?
yes.
And what are the doctors telling you?
Well, my doctor said, yeah, that's a hernia. You now know what a hernia is. Um, Basically, he just told me, look, there's really not much you can do about it. Either you can go down the path of surgery, and that's the one, that's the way we recommend it. Unless if you're not having excruciating pain, this is obviously it's not life threatening. You can just live with it. But I couldn't just live with it. Even walking was kind of painful, was uncomfortable. It wasn't like excruciating type of thing, but there's no way. Like I couldn't run, and I couldn't do any of the things I love to do. At the time I was a famous footbag player. I kicked around a hack all the time on the island. I was known as the ambassador of play. So I couldn't do any of that. And I'm like, I can't just let it sit. I can't, to do nothing was not an option. But when I started researching what actually goes into a surgery, I was like, there's no way. There's no way I'm going to do this. I mean, especially on Kauai, they only really gave an option for the mesh surgery, which is the typical way that they try and fix a hernia. But it is just it's a nightmare type of scenario for most people. So it's they cut you open, not good. And then they stick an artificial thing into your body to try and keep the hernia in place. And so that thing, your body's just trying to expel it the whole time. It doesn't want this artificial thing in the body. It doesn't recognize it. So it tries to push it out. It'll even push it through tissue. So it'll start getting a mesh near tissues. And that's a huge problem later on because all the scar tissue forms around it. And that's part of the fascia connection. So a good example is my dad had this surgery done, years before I had my surgery. He had one done, but now he's in pain every day and he can't get it taken out because the scar tissue has formed so much around it. If they took it out, it'd be catastrophic for his whole body. So you can't do it after a while. And a lot of symptoms, a lot of the negative symptoms from the mesh don't show up until much later on.
Yeah, that's interesting because I had a hysterectomy in 2019 and they put a mesh around my cervix and they said, your body will either absorb it or it'll come out.
Rejected.
And it was there for a while.
Wow.
When I
Wow.
got checked by my gynecologist, she was like, oh, I still feel that mesh. And she had this concerned look on her face.
Eh, what was she
So
made out of? Do you know? He
I
used to.
don't know, but luckily it did go away
Okay.
because I got checked again and they didn't find anything. So thank goodness. But
Interesting.
yeah, your body rejects foreign things
For
that are
sure.
put in your body. One really good example is breast implants
Yeah.
can cause horrible, horrible sicknesses and autoimmune disease.
100%. Yeah,
Yeah,
the body
and
will even like other people's hearts and stuff like that. You have to go on medication for the rest of your life to have have it, suppress your own immune system because it's just like this isn't right. This, you know. So artificial things, yeah, no way it doesn't want it in your body.
yeah. So was your father's experience part of the reason why you didn't want to get the surgery?
No, actually, I did not realize my dad had the surgery. He didn't tell me until much later. I did
Oh,
not know.
wow.
I didn't know you had the surgery. So this is my own research. This is my own time. I didn't even. I don't think I talked with him about it until almost after the fact, to be honest, because
Wow.
I was just like, um, yeah, because I didn't want him to worry about it. I didn't know how he would take it, and I'm sure he would have been like, you should just get the surgery, and he would have been like, because he's kind of more that way. He's more leaning that way versus like,
Mhm.
you know, because I'm just like I'm way more on the other side of the fence. I'm like, your body can heal itself. You just got to know, got to believe it. You got to just do what you can do to heal it, and you just, but that was I've that's one thing when I traveled everywhere. I tried to learn different modalities of healing when I was traveling places. 'Cause I'm like, these are all amazing things to do and help your body. So I relied a little bit on those when I was healing my own surgery on my or healing myself. I would do a lot of that type of things as well, but it was mostly just like, you know, I did a bunch of things to do it, you
So,
know.
so tell us what you did.
well, well, the first thing I did is once the doctor said you got to have surgery, I actually researched a bunch of different places. Um, I found a place in Canada that did not do the mesh, but they used a steel thread to sew it back into place and stuff, but it left the steel inside your body. So I kind of didn't want to do that. And then um, I was recommended to a friend by a friend to a guy in Italy who does a surgery with your own tissues. So he takes it and re-sews it back up, and then your body eventually absorbs all of it. And so I'm like, okay, that seems like the way to go. And so actually made plans to go to Italy. I was going to you know fly out there for I was going to do it for a month so I can go to Italy, get the surgery done, do some recovery, and then I had family and friends I wanted to go visit in Europe, but at the time I wasn't able to schedule it. Just things weren't happening. So I'm like, okay, I can't do that. Now what? Now are my options? So I decided at that point, okay, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to dive 100% into doing everything I know how to get my body to heal rapidly. I was going to give myself 6 months. I said, if I cannot heal myself completely in 6 months, if I'm not able to play disc in 6 months, then I'll get the surgery. But I just said, um, luckily I had many friends on the island who gave me advice. One of the guys I really relied heavily on, he has this company called Kauai Pharmacy, and they do amazing tinctures, teas, and stuff like that. So he gave me a number of teas, and he just said, "Hey, look, this is what I recommend as far as food going. Like do this and this and this." I relied a little bit on that. Relied a little on my own stuff, which is I went off of anything hard to digest. So I went off of all meats. I went off of all grains, all breads, nuts, anything like that. I tried to liquefy my diet as much as possible just to help my digestion. Just uh, easy to digest gave more possibility for healing for my body to focus on healing, right? Um, and then uh, aloe vera. I noticed like I was very intrigued by how aloe vera can heal itself. If you cut off a plant, it seals up and starts healing. And I'm like, okay, I'm just gonna try and use aloe a lot. So there's some aloe plants close by my house. So I started eating aloe every day, and I figured I was gonna eat it for internally, and then externally I'd rub the when I prepared it, I would cut off the leaf and just use the meat to eat, and then I would rub that leafy part on the area every day. Um, and then Edgar Casey, I was reading up on Edgar Casey, and he recommended a castor oil pack treatment. So you put castor oil on a wool mesh, you lay it over the area, put a plastic bag on top, and then a heating pad on top of that. Um, I mix in a little myrrh and frankincense into the mixture because they're very powerful healing remedies, and it gets the blood flowing a little bit better. And then castor oil is the deepest penetrating of the oils, and it's also a carrier, so it pulled in those oils really deep into the body. So castor oil treatment every night, and then do my own type of self massage thing where I just work on the area and I'd like feel into it and really visualize everything going back into place and going around the edges where the hernia was and just really touching on the tissues lightly, but also find the spots that were painful and just work them. Like I would just, just relied on how I'm pressing this right to feel good, avoided any negative pain and focused on the positive pain, the things that felt like it was releasing. Right. And then the final step is I did certain exercises. One of the most important ones is one called a vacuum breath. And it's a way to re-strengthen your core. I do a little video on it, but you exhale all the air out of your lungs. You lean forward and you do these ways to isolate the muscles of your core and get them flowing. And it's just a way to pull all the fascia together and restructure your core. So those are the foundations of what I did, just to help build back the hernia. It was and then it took about 2 weeks before I got it to come back in, and then I had it stay in. Like I was literally like but I didn't do. I was very cautious about everything I did. Like I would lay down most of the time, no sitting. I'm like, you cannot sit down, because if you sit down, you re-aggravate the hernia, because it puts a lot of pressure. Or I tell people how to sit properly so it doesn't put pressure on it once you heal it. But even that time, laying down most of the time or standing up was what I did, just to keep it in place. And then after a month, I was able to kick around a foot bag again, and then in about 2 months, I was back on the field playing disc. So
Wow, that's
yeah,
pretty fast.
it was very fast. It was very fast. People in the disc community couldn't believe it. They were just like, "What are you talking about? You had a hernia 2 months ago?" I'm like, "Yep, just got rid of it. Got rid of it." And they're like, "What do you need? What? Did you do surgery?" I'm like, "No." Like, how'd you do it? But I didn't at the time. I didn't know it wasn't possible. You know what I mean? I didn't think it wasn't possible, or like I didn't realize how rare it is to do. You know what I mean? Nobody told me that, other than my doctor saying, you have to do surgery if you want to get rid of it. He didn't tell me it wasn't possible to heal myself. And I just said, you know what? I'm just going to do it. I don't want to sell myself short on that.
So you said you took some teas and tinctures. What kind of teas and tinctures, and for what purpose?
Basically just overall cleansing one. Tulsi is one that was one of the staples. He had various concoctions that he would give for me, but Tulsi was always the main thing, just for blood flow and keeping the body healthy. The tinctures, he had a special topographical one. Topograph, that's a map. Topical solution. Not a map, but a topical solution that he put
It
on.
might be a map for healing. I mean,
Right. But it was a little ointment, a salve that he had, that was one of his favorites, and I believe it was comfrey. It was a comfrey based one.
yeah.
So I mean, comfrey root's another miracle plant. So but that's mainly for bone mending. He would just he would just tell me to rub that on my bones, places that were hurting and stuff. But I did rub a little bit of that. I also did a little bit of acupuncture, but I don't list that as one of my things that I did as far as the core treatments, because I only went to acupuncture a couple of times, so it wasn't like a daily thing for me.
Yeah. Did you feel like it improved any after the acupuncture?
Um, I'd give it a probably. You know what I mean? It wasn't. If I reflect back to the moments of it, I mean, when I was in the acupuncture session, it did feel. I could feel what it was doing. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
I was definitely aware of like how she was working the energy channels, and I could feel the different spots opening up. So 100%, it's another tool.
Yeah.
So yeah,
I've been having sciatica issues, and it's almost completely gone. And I feel a big difference after acupuncture.
yeah,
It just kind of calms everything down. And my acupuncturist is like, the pain is caused by stagnation. And so the needles get the energy flowing again.
yeah, yeah. It's a powerful tool. I mean, it's been around since for a long
Thousands and
time.
thousands of years.
Yeah, yeah, right. It's one of those ones that's just like, yeah, there's something to say about it, because it hasn't gone away.
So there you go, listeners. You can overcome hernia with natural healing modalities. And I know that you're a play coach, but do you help people still with their hernia issues or?
Yeah, I mean, I have a whole website dedicated to that. There's a bunch of free things on there that, and I show exactly kind of what I did in the free part, but like we expanded it to include a protocol, which I have more videos and go more in depth into it. And then you have a tracker that you can print out that goes with the whole package deal. And then I do personal coaching for people who want that extra little push. And I'm there for you, as well as like help push you along and make sure that you're doing the things right. So
Did you ever explore like the energetic or spiritual cause of the hernia? Like, especially because of that location would be the root chakra.
I did not. No, I didn't dive into that part of it, to be honest.
Yeah.
It was
So
more.
you know what the chakras represent?
The base chakra, the red one, that's the root chakra that pulls down. This was like the orange chakra, more
The sacral.
yeah, sacral.
Yeah.
So I used to know all of it.
Yeah. So the
But
sacral would be your creative center, how you play,
oh,
how you have fun,
okay.
and sometimes unprocessed emotions sit there.
Okay.
Yeah, it's where, for women, it's where they have a baby they carry and grow the baby. So that's like the ultimate creative process
Nice.
right there. So,
Okay. Well, so, uh, yeah, I was definitely working with my company on Kauai, but I was still playing a lot though, because I make it part of my thing when I was working with them as as I was juggling at all my shows, all my demos of the drink. So I was still trying to incorporate play as much as possible.
yeah.
But
But were you
yeah,
under stress at the time?
probably. It's always, when doing those type of things, you're always I was always under, I take a personal success thing out of it. So,
Yeah.
and there was a lot to do.
Yeah. So tell us more about being a play coach and what does that mean?
Well, my main focus is to try to activate what I call the play flow state, and it's to reawaken that inner child. The whole understanding or the belief of we come here to play. Children come to this world to play. That's the way they learn things and we interact with things. I believe it's in a playful state. So somehow along the lines we get parents trying to conform us in society, schools trying to conform us into one thing, we lose our natural ability to be in that state of pure joy and curiosity. So my goal as a play coach is to try to combat the the mental health decline of us as we get too stressed out about life in general. It's it's especially effective nowadays. I'm trying to really focus on the digital toxic world that we're in. Um, there's a lot of pushback now and people going through this digital detox. So I talk with youth about, hey, you know, i- get off your screens, get more into humanity. Basically, humans were made to interact, were made to be in person. You cannot have a relationship on a screen that's fulfilling. It's going to shut you down eventually. And social media is crushing so much of the way our brain interacts. It's actually changing us physiologically. It's one of those things. It's insane to see. This is an experiment that's going out of control, and we have not studied the ramifications of it. So I see uh, a huge problem with it. When I first started backpacking in '95, when I traveled through airports, I was playing footbag, and we got the origin story of me playing is I was playing footbag with a friend, and when we were going on the plane, the hostess lady said, "Oh my gosh, you entertained everybody for 3 hours. Thank you so much." That was in '95. Nowadays, you go through airport, everybody's on their phone, nobody's interacting, and we're all stuck to this device. So to combat that and try to get people to recognize that, hey, um, if we want to be fulfilled, if we want to have looking forward to things more, we got to find our ways of playing. And it's not, I recommend specific things. I'm a huge fan of juggling in general. I'm like, yeah, if you knew how good it was for you, you'd juggle. You would just there wouldn't be anything for you to say, oh, I can't, I don't have time, or it just looks stupid, or I can't do it. I never learned how to juggle. I'm like, get over all that. Get over all that. Because you literally, once you learn how to juggle, you know why it's amazing for you and what it does for your brain and your creativity. It's just wonderful for humans to learn how to do. That's one of my main things I kind of push onto everybody. But my main focus is on find your way of play. Step out of your comfort zone. Jump onto something that's new, that gets you excited, that gets you out of your locked in world, because if you got to find these ways to escape, and play is a way to do it. So I teach kids, I teach elderly, I go to senior centers and work with play, and I teach addicts. I go to recovery programs. Juggling is amazing for recovery. It's a phenomenal thing to do for recovery. So all these things I try to do, and I also work with universities to do detox programs to try and get people to, play more.
Detox from the electronics. So
100%.
what else besides juggling do you recommend? What are some ideas for play?
Well, my two pillars are juggling and footbag.
Okay.
Juggling is introverted. It's a thing you can do by yourself all the time, and you can get very, anytime you're in a state, you can just start juggling, and you can always learn a new trick. But socializing footbag is my go-to. And so I'll go to a park and I'll start kicking it by myself, but I can always get other people to play with me, and then I can immediately get a good friend, because once you start playing with somebody, you find out a lot about them. You find out how they handle such situations, how they conduct themselves, and it's an overall just extraordinary means of interaction with people. Both of those exercises are also great cross trainers. So any sport or activity that you like to do, juggling and hack will help with those things. They're the greatest cross trainers I've come across. Those are my two pillars of play. But as far as other things, I mean, I'm a huge fan of pickleball. I play pickleball a lot. I play the ukulele. I love board games. I love card games. I'll if I'm walking down the street, it's not just walking down the street. I'm skipping down the street. I'm jumping off of things. I'm trying to make that fun, because I want to keep my brain active and aware of my movements, but it also activates my whole body, versus just walking down a street with shoes on only activates certain muscles groups, and you get into a rhythm of doing it, versus if you're trying to stay in the moment and you're like jumping off things and having fun with it. I'm amusing myself. I'm using more of my muscles, and people will see me goofing, and they'll hopefully get a little bit more spark into their day too. You know what I mean? That's just
Yeah.
I love doing things like that, just to try and change up the pattern. I juggle everywhere I go to. If I'm walking on the street, or if I'm in a line somewhere, I'm juggling, just to try and get other people also recognize that you might as well do something else with your time than just sit there. But there are infinite ways of playing. That's the fun thing about it. So I'm like, I just try to, if I'm vacuuming, I'm doing a dance. I'm literally like dancing as I'm vacuuming, trying to get my groove going on, just to, again, try to keep my brain thinking in a playful state, and then, and so everything is an opportunity for me to try to find another way to play.
So when you say foot bag, is that like a hacky sack?
Yes, hacky sack is a whammo name. So like, these are my specific ones. I teach people how to make them, and then this becomes the ultimate play tool. So this isn't hacky sack's owned by Whammo. Footbag's the generic name.
Okay.
But when my friend gave me one, he gave me one that was a plastic filled one, that's the typical hacky sack or footbag. But these ones that I learned how to make, they're with hemp seeds. So they're a little bit softer, and they're easy to make. So you can bat these around. You can throw them at each other. One of the funnest times I had, Tina, was that we were going to play ultimate disc, but not enough people showed up. We only had 7 people. I think it was 3 girls, 4 guys. And I just made a bunch of the foot bags for a presentation I was going to do at a school on the island. And so I said, hold on for a second. I ran to my car, and pulled out all of them and dumped them in the field. And we all just started grabbing him and started beating each other. Right. And we were just running around the field for like an hour. We did this. And it was so funny to watch how everyone reacted to it. Like the girls were the vicious ones. They would like gang up on everybody and just start throwing him at him. And everyone, you're lying on the ground going, no more. No. But you're joking. You know what I mean? Because it didn't hurt. These don't hurt, but you get the same rush, that same fear factor going of like, I don't want to be hit. But once you get hit, it's like no big deal. So at the end of it, our bodies, we got into the middle and just all just were just cracking up on the ground. Like just, it was so much fun, but you couldn't do that with the plastic ones. They hurt way too much. So these ones don't hurt. They're fun. And the goal is to try and get more people to learn how to make these things, because then you can gift them away to other people. Like over the years, I've made thousands of these, like literally thousands of them. And every time somebody plays with me, I do the same thing that my friend did to me. He said, keep this in your pocket. It's going to be the best gift anyone will ever give you. And that's what started me in 1995. And that literally is the game changer for me. It's a way to just to keep things flowing, keep things going. And it's this little thing is the game changer.
Yeah, I'm a big proponent of art. Because I find art is extremely calming too. And back in college, I was an orientation counselor, and our group, for some reason, our group started to fall apart. Like people were tired or they were getting cranky. And the next activity we had was like a craft activity. So we did the craft activity, and I couldn't believe the shift in everybody.
Nice.
I mean, whatever was the problem was gone. Everybody had been focusing on their activity and they were calm. And I was like blown away by the difference.
Yeah. Well,
Art's amazing. Yeah. I've been taking art classes since online for a long time, on and off, forever. So, and I do them online now because my teacher's back in Virginia, but she does her classes online now. And I'm just used to it. It's like, she's like always got a different project. And she says, okay, we're going to do abstract, which by the way is hard. Abstract art is hard. And we're going to make marks with different tools. And I just want you to go for it. She always says that. And I just go for it. And we end up sitting there and showing each other, everybody, our work. And I remember recently I showed my little abstract painting with all their marks on it. And somebody made a comment, wow, you really didn't hold back, Tina.
Yeah, you can't. You shouldn't. Art's a way to express and get everything out. Yeah.
And if you don't like it, you can paint over it. You could collage it. You could change it. Like, this is not made in stone. You could put it away and not like it and look at it later and realize it was actually pretty good.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I go for it. I'm like, she said make some marks, and I did.
There you go. That's the way to do it. Sweet.
Yeah. So can you share your website and how people can contact you, Zander?
Well, the healmyhernia.com is focused just on the hernias. And then from there, I mean, there's a direct way to contact me from there, and that website is linked to a couple of other websites, I believe, at the bottom of that page. But my other one is Hackido, or Hack I Do. It's on the foot bags, but hackido.org or .com. That's the path of play. That's the one where there is a free juggling course on there. And it is the world's best juggling course, as far as I teach you steps on how to learn how to juggle and to make nice juggling balls in there out of balloons, rice, and plastic bags. So that's one way to do it. There's also a video to how to make the foot bags, the Hackidos, as well. It goes with a stencil that you can cut out. And then I also have, like, I make these little kits too, which come with, everything you need to make, make 3 foot bags in there. So those are my pitches for that. I also do origami, which is another extraordinary art form. Have you ever done origami?
No, I haven't tried it.
Wow. Okay. It's another one that I really preach as far as like it's an extraordinary way to focus, but it helps structure your brain. So I have a really fun website based on dollar bill folds because I learned how to do just a bunch of dollar bill folds.
Hmm.
So there's a stencil you can download and you can print out, which has like a version of a dollar bill. But then I have all these different animals that I do on there, from a peacock, a parrot, a dolphin, an elephant, a butterfly, a turtle, frog. All these are on there, and it shows you videos to show you how to make them from it. So that's all for free too. But that one's a little bit harder to understand, but it has the links are on the Hack Keto, but it's craniogami. Fold your brain into shape, but it's craniogami. But that's another fun one to check out.
I
And then
think
my art website.
I think I'm gonna try juggling. I've never really tried it.
You should check it out. Seriously, and the you want to go with the mindset, Tina, of you're gonna do it. You know what I mean? Like people say, like, I'm just gonna try it, and then they give up if they don't get it. But you gotta really I'm actually cutting a video right now to come in there and save beforehand. Like, yeah, if you're at this point, go through the process and learn it, because if you get to the point where you can juggle and then you don't like it, whatever. But it's literally like the ROI on it. The amount of time it takes to learn how to juggle is not that much. You could be investing a lot of time into a lot of other things that are nowhere near as effective for helping your brain and everything else that you want to do. I mean, it literally is an amazing cross trainer. The way it interacts with your left or right hemisphere, you get the corpus callosum going in a rhythm it loves because it can predict it, and it sets your brain in a really good flow state. It builds white as well as gray matter in the brain. It is incredible. So, just sitting with that the intention of I'm gonna do it, then just go through the steps of it and just take time with each of those steps, and then you'll slowly get to the point where you start building confidence, and before you know it, you're juggling the 3 balls. And then you want to get to the point where you can juggle them easily, where it's not, because you'll struggle with it for a moment. You're literally going to be going with the 3 balls, and they're going to be going all over the place, and it takes a little bit of time, right?
Right.
But there'll be a moment where it locks in, and you'll feel it. You're like, oh my God, I got it. And then that's when the neuron connection has been solidified, and you will never forget it. You won't
It's like
forget.
riding a bike.
It's very similar. You'll like I've met so many jugglers who haven't juggled in like 20, 30 years. They juggled when they were in elementary school. One of their teachers forced them to learn how to juggle. And again, a couple of tosses, and then all of a sudden they got it, and then they're right back into it. So it is an amazing thing for that purpose too. It's just
Reminds me of this guy. I was on a tour of Mexico's ancient sites.
oh, nice.
And in 2019, and he had brought his juggling sticks with him.
Okay.
And he juggled everywhere we went. And I said, he was more on the spiritual side too. And I was like, well, what are you doing really? And he's like, I'm moving energy.
Okay. Well,
and some of the places didn't like him doing it, unfortunately. He says people will tell him, stop juggling, don't do that here. And, yeah, it's unfortunate, but it's something he really enjoyed doing.
like, you mean like in public places, or
Yeah, even
spots?
even in Mexico, I think at one point, one of the security guards told him to stop juggling.
Was he in like a museum or something?
No, we were outside.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. I think I've been told to stop juggling one time in a museum.
Well, he
I'm
wasn't
like, okay.
doing it inside. He would just do it in outdoor places. But he did tell me that there were times when people would just tell him to stop.
Wow. I don't know how I would handle that. You know what I mean? Somebody told me to stop juggling. Like, I would just stare at him like, are you kidding me? And I just keep on juggling and looking at the face. It'd
be like, no.
Yeah. No juggling? I don't think so. You're
it's ridiculous. Like,
I'm an American.
Well, he was Canadian.
Okay.
But, yeah. Well, now I know. I mean, I'm willing to try anything. So, and I love the flow state. I think I get into it with art and meditation and yoga and all these different ways to get into that state. And
Yeah.
we need it. It's like our
100%.
rest, our normal natural state to be in. It's like our resting state to be in.
Yeah. Or- Yeah. It is an incredible state, and you can get it through so many different things. And yeah, it's a you look, it's being in the now. It's being, and
Hmm.
that's you look at kids and babies and stuff like that. They're in that state. They are in that now. And then as we grow up and we age, we start dealing with responsibilities and, oh God, this going on. And all of a sudden we have other thoughts that are coming in and we're no longer here. We're getting bombarded with all these different things which take us out of our reality. So anything to
Yeah.
bring it back, anything to bring it back to that moment.
And it's a practice, and you'll get better and better at it.
Yeah.
I had monkey mind too 15 years ago, and I'm able to calm my thoughts and clear my head pretty quickly now. And I've been in groups with people, and they've asked me what I was thinking about, and I would say nothing.
Yeah.
I'm not thinking about anything. I'm just listening to others, but I'm not thinking about anything.
Yeah.
They're shocked, you know. What do you mean you're not thinking about anything? Like, I don't have to think about anything.
Gotcha. Yeah.
Yeah.
Clear mind.
Yeah.
Clear mind. Yeah. I'll admit that my monkey brain is there. I had my first. I was living in an ashram, and my guru was always mocking me because he could tell I was always elsewhere. But then he saw me playing footbag, and then he's like, "That's your focus.
Yeah.
That's your center."
Hmm.
And so that's what, and that really struck me, is because he saw how much I was in my moment doing that. And so that really was one of my huge transitions of recognizing that, I mean, I sat in meditation for hours every day, and it would just be like, my brain is like, I'm like, I don't even know where I am, because I'm somewhere over here, over there, and just like, get back to your mantra, and I'm like, all of a sudden I'm, doing something else. I'm somewhere else, and it was frustrating.
So
But
movement's really key for you. And then they have like mindfulness practices of eating, of walking, very mindful walking and movement too. So you don't have to be sitting there not moving. And if you need to move, move.
yeah, well, it's yeah, I've been very much, and juggling for me is my way of doing it too. Like once I get in my juggle flow, but juggling it's not. The challenge is I've got to get to my next level of juggling, because I'm doing, when I do a 3-ball juggle, I'm constantly thinking of different tricks I can do. So my mind is not, it's not completely shut down. Like when I was doing 3 balls and I was just learning 3 balls, then my brain would shut down. I would just focus on the 3 balls. But now I've learned so many different tricks that my brain is constantly going, oh, what's this other trick I can do? But I talked with a really good juggler, and he's like, get to 5-ball. Get to learn the 5-ball juggle. It takes you so long to learn how to do 5-ball. Like, he's like, if learning how to do a 3-ball is like a 4, and trying to learn, like, different tricks is, it's like a 9 out of 10 or something like that. He said learning how to do a 5-ball juggle is like a 70. It's exponentially harder than any other trick you're ever going to learn. But once you learn a 5-ball, he's like, that's my favorite trick, because I can only think about just doing the one trick, and my brain shuts down and just focuses on that. So I'm like, okay, now I got to learn how to do it. But I've been trying to do it for like 5 years now, almost 6 years. And it's incredibly hard to do.
Well, I think it's good to always up the ante, like, and always create goals for yourself too. I mean, that's perfectly normal and natural for us to be that way.
Yeah.
So, and like I think about yoga, when I do yoga, yeah, you're still thinking, but if you really focus on your movement and your breath, you don't really have time to think about anything.
Yeah. You got to be just present.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, thank you, Zander, so much for sharing your story. And listeners, if you have a hernia or know somebody who does, check out his website. The information is going to be in the notes. And also make sure you have time for play.
Make it part of a day. Part of your day is schedule a little bit of time for it. That's the thing. People say they don't have time for it. I'm like, for play is like the meditation thing where people say if you don't have time to, if you can't meditate for 5 minutes a day, you should be meditating for half an hour a day.
Yeah.
Play, the same thing with play. If you can't spend 5 minutes a day playing, you got to spend at least 15, 20 minutes every day.
I actually, when my kids were little, I couldn't meditate. I have little children, so I would practice mindfulness, and I would try to be very mindful about everything that I did, from like washing the dishes to cooking to, you know, just watching them at the playground and keeping my mind clear and focusing on what was happening.
Yeah.
So yeah, if you make time for it, you have time.
Yeah.
And if you don't have time, put down the phone.
100%. Get off the digital device things.
Good God. Like, I kind of worried about the future for our kids, that they don't even know how to have a conversation, you know, and they don't even know how to socialize with each other.
Yeah.
And just today, my daughter had some difficult messages with her friend, and I said, you know what? Don't do that on text.
Yeah.
Talk to her and have a conversation, because again, those texts are there, and somebody could screenshot it, or, you know, it could be used against you. So just have a conversation.
Yep. 100%.
It's so much better, especially difficult topics, because when the topic is hard and you're sending a message, it can seem overly harsh, and you can't see the energy of the person. You can't. There's no tone. There's no right.
Flat words, and like you don't get where the nuances are. You don't get
right.
like. And as you're talking with someone, you can change what you're trying to say depending on what's going on. You can't do it with a text. It's one side, blah.
Yeah.
Blah, you know?
I think text can be overly harsh.
Yeah.
And so just talk about it. So much better.
So much better. Have a conversation. Right. You know, in person's the best. Yeah. In person's the best. Because then you do get the magic of the energy exchange person to person, and you can get the whole body language going on, whatever, and you have the eye contact. But if not, over the phone is good, but texting
video's pretty good, because I can see you. Yeah, you know, you can feel my energy. I can feel your energy through the screen. So yeah, for sure.
Texting. Yeah, no good, no bueno.
Sure. All right, Zander. Well, all the information will be in the show notes. So thank you for being on the show.
Thank you for having me. Great stuff.